Hello everyone. Thanks for tuning into these videos. Be doing a bunch of these demos for everybody, but I want to talk about the first assignment, the first exercise, which is called Lines and Line Weight, Part 1. And these are the materials you're going to be using for that. A triangle. I'll talk about this parallel line in a second. 3 pens, ink pens. I'm using a .05, 0.3 and a 0.9, so thinnest, thicker, and then the thickest ink pens. And then trace paper here. And then 2 different types of tape, drafting dots and then drafting tape. It has to be drafting tape. If not, it could really rip the edges here. And I'll talk about that in a second. And then last but not least is the 11 by 17 graph paper that you see here. So let's set aside the things that we don't need, because I want to set up the paper first, because that's very important. And I'll set up the paper once, and I don't think I'll talk about that in other videos. So let's take away the pens, the trash paper, and then let's take away this drafting tape. You can use the drafting tape as well for the corners, but I'm going to use the dots for this demo. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that this paper is straight. If it's not, then things are going to go wrong for you. So what you want to do is, using the parallel line or ruler, this mine goes up and down. Here's the drafting table, and some of you might have purchased a T-square. And it looks like this, right? So the T-square is going to go to the one edge, and you're going to set up the paper the same way. It acts the same way as this parallel line goes up and down, but you can see there's a straight edge to this. So what we're going to do here first is we're going to set this paper down straight as can be. So you want to make sure that your graph paper, any type of paper, that's 11 by 17 or 8.5 by 11. You want to make sure it's straight, because that is going to mean that everything else that you're drawing is straight as well. So to do that is you want to make sure the bottom is straight with the parallel rule, like so. And then this triangle, you want to make sure you butt it up against the side. And I can tell it's straight because of the bottom and the side. So it's 90 degrees, it's level, right? So let's tape this. You want to make sure this doesn't move. I'm going to use the drafting dots here. All right. Drafting dots, Stadler Mars. And I'm going to take them out one by one. And you're going to notice that I'm going to be taping the corners, of course, holding this down. Taping the top right, making sure that you definitely smooth and make sure everything is flattened. If things aren't flattened with your tape, if there's a little edge that's sticking up and you move this parallel line up and down, or your T-square, you're going to have trouble. You're going to have problems. The tape might rip, the paper might rip as you move this up and down, or your T-square up and down. So now that I know this is straight, I'm going to pick off the last 2 dots here. I'm going to move the parallel line rule down, tape this, making sure that that's taped on, and then the other left end here, making sure that no edge is sticking up. This might not be important right now because we're going to be doing these first 4 assignments freehand, but when we do the hard line and we start moving this parallel rule up and down, you notice if this tape is sticking up just a little bit, it can grab it, twirl it, maybe rip the paper, and you won't be happy. So now that I have all my 4 corners down, here's my 11 by 17 graph paper, straight, right, and center, not necessarily centered, but straight. That's the most important. So now we can move the parallel line rule down, or your T-square off, and then we can move this triangle off to the side here. So now we need our 3 pens, right? Like I said earlier, I have the thinnest is the 0.05 in my case. Second thickest is the 0.3, and then the 0.8. So the assignment, the sheet 1 of the assignment, we're going to be drawing a border freehand, and we're going to be drawing a set of horizontal lines that make up, thinnest is going to be the top third, the thicker horizontal lines will be the middle third, and then the thickest horizontal lines will be the bottom third. So think of this sheet as in thirds, okay? So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to draw a border. Freehand now, right? This is all freehand. So we're going to use the middle, or the thickest pen in the middle, not the heaviest or the thickest on the right or the thinnest. We're going to use the middle one. In my case, it's going to be the 0.3. In your case, whether you got 3 pens or a pen set like mine, let me show you. I think this pen set I put on in a link in the materials list. It's called the Panda Fly pen set, and it has quite a bit of thicknesses here. So I'm going to use 3. That's what I want you to use too. So I'm going to use the middle of the 3 to create my border. And I think I had put down there, I wasn't sure if I put a 1/2 inch or just a simple border. But we know that these squares, or in my case, they're 1/4 inch each. So if I do a 1/2 inch border, that means it's 2 squares, right? Because 1/4 plus 1/4 equals a 1/2 inch. We'll talk more about dimensions, scale, architectural scale and whatnot later. But right now I want to draw a border. So taking these 2 pens to the side, my middle heaviest pen, I want to now create a border. Going 2 squares in, which is a 1/2 inch, all around. So I'm just going to do this freehand, and it's take your time if you want to go slow, or but you want to draw your line right on top of the grid line, and you want to try not to lift your pen up. It'll take a little bit of getting used to, but you want to be in one fluid motion going from, in my case, I'm a righty, so I'm going from left to right. If you're a lefty or a southpaw, you'll be going from right to left. But here's this 1/2 inch I was telling you about. Here's 1/2 inch, and then now I'm going to come down on the line, right? And then I'm going to go across. Try not to lift your ink pen. If you want to go slow, that's fine, of course. You want to try not to have too many bumps or waves here. So there's my border, 1/2 inch all the way around, right? So now the top third lines I'm going to do, I'm going to create here is my thinnest pen that I have here. Now, you don't want to hold the pen too tight. You want to let the pen do the work, right? You want the ink to glide off. And we're going to have 3 sets of horizontal lines. Like I said, the top third, about there, is going to be the lightest or thinnest ink pen. The middle third is going to be your thicker pen. In my case, it's the pen that I did the border with. And then the lower third of horizontal lines is going to be the thickest pen. So let me start by just drawing these lines. So I'm going to go right on top of the grid lines here. And I'm going pretty quick. I'm gliding this across. Again, from edge to edge, each line, all horizontal lines. If you feel the need to go slower, by all means, please do. It might make sense so that you can have some control. Because right now it is all about control going across. You can see that, I'm not perfect here. My lines are going up and down a little bit here. But the key is to try to draw these lines consistent all the way across. Now, this is a light pen, so you might not be able to see these lines as well as I do, but this is the lightest, thinnest pen that I have. And I'm going right on top of the graph lines, these lines that are on the graph paper, right? In this case, we're doing horizontal lines in this first sheet of this first assignment called Lines and Line Weights. So I'm going to try to fill the top third of this sheet relatively quickly for purposes of this demonstration, as quick as I can. Use your best judgment of what you think the top third, how many horizontal lines are going to be. but we're splitting it into thirds, right? So yeah, you want to just draw on top of the line. Like I said, I'm going relatively quick. Probably can go slower to get more control, but I want you to go as slow as you can without trying to lift that pen up. It's really nice if you can get a consistent line going without lifting the pen. It's all about control right now, not for you, not speed. It's all about control. Let's say this is the last one I'll do with the thin pen. Right? Close that up, and I'll use the second thickest pen, which is the 0.3 for me. You can see that the line is a little bit thicker, and that's what we want to emphasize too, is different line weights, and that difference is the pens that you're using. The three thinnest, the next thickest, and then the heaviest or the thickest. You can see that these lines are getting thicker as I go down, trying to stay consistent all the way across. These lines are a little bit more visible, right? Because it's a thicker line, it's a thicker pen. So I'm doing this a little bit quick, but I want you to take your time and have more control. Going right over that grid line. Nice and smooth. Let the ink do the work. You're dragging that pen. You don't have to be forcing it down onto the sheet, pressing down onto the sheet. It's an ink pen. Let it flow out. This will be my last one on this medium thickness pen. I'll cover that up, and then I'll use right now, for me it's the 0.8. Again, now this is going to be a thicker pen. Go across, right? Thicker pen might be a little bit more jumpy just because of the head of the pen. Might have to slow down a little bit more because of the control factor. It might not look like it on screen that this pen is thicker than the one I just used, but trust me, it is. It'll be more relevant when we put the trash paper here over it and on sheets 3 and 4 of this exercise. But right now we're going horizontal across, and trust me, this is the thickest pen that I have, and it looks thicker than it might here on the video. I'm almost done here. Again, you'll get the gist of this. You don't have to watch this whole video, right? I just want to complete. I like to complete these so that you can see what it looks like. You might turn this video off halfway, say, oh, I got it. Fine, that's okay. Last but not least, maybe I want you to leave it on just to see the last part. Always want to write your name, print your name, not write, so that it's capital letters, first name and last name, capital letters, and you can put it right on top of one of the horizontal lines, making sure that you fit your whole name there, right? So all capitals, as neat as you can. All right, and that's sheet 1 in exercise 1.